mistakes a lot of managers make. They're worried about hiring good people because they're worried about themselves and their own jobs. Most successful leaders and most successful managers are those who actually recognize, hey, the way I'm going to rise in my own career is by hiring exceptional people.
Do you look forward to come into work? Because that's a big question, right? And if you haven't created an environment where they feel safe to answer that question, like research shows, they will not give you an honest answer if they don't like coming to work because they think they're going to get fired. What if we flip the conversation around, right?
It doesn't matter how successful the business is, people love humility. Humility has power in many ways. It applies as a leader, for staff, as you're suggesting, Greg. How do you create joy? Humility goes a long way. You can't command joy. You can't tell them, hey, I'm your boss, you need to be happy.
Joy isn't the reward at the end of the journey. It's what makes the journey worth showing up for.
Totally. Every day is a new day.
Welcome to JOY², Live with Joy. This is the podcast where we get to explore the power of joy, purpose, passion, and fun, and how joy, when practiced intentionally, transforms how we live, work, and lead. I'm your host, Greg Koker, and I believe that when you live with joy, everything gets better, and I mean everything. And this isn't just about feeling good. It's about unlocking joy as a resource, one that fuels better leadership, meaningful work, and thriving lives. Each week, we share the stories, the insights, and the sparks that ignite more joy, because joy is contagious, it's powerful, and it belongs to all of us. So lean in, stay curious, and let's create more joy together. This is JOY², brought to you by Essentia Group. Welcome back to JOY², Live with Joy. I'm your host, Greg Koker, and this podcast explores living, working, and leading with more joy, intentionally. I'm really excited about today's conversation because my guest, Greg Taylor, is someone I've known for a really long time and whose company, Steam Whistle, has been part of my life for many years. So let me paint the picture and provide some context. So there's certain places you walk into, and before anyone even says a word, you can feel it. Right? There's an energy, a pulse, a sense that something special is happening here. It's not forced, it's not manufactured, it's just alive. And for me, one of those places has always been Steam Whistle. I've been visiting the Roundhouse for years now, and not as a consultant, not as a strategist, but as a human and and beer drinker. My wife, Kim, was part of the team in the early days, so I've had a front row seat to something very special. Christmas parties that felt more like family reunions, St. Patrick's Day celebrations that blurred the line between work and life, island parties, investor nights. We had our first baby shower there. I had my book launch there. My brother Todd had an art show there. And every time I felt the same, like you belonged. And that kind of energy doesn't happen by accident. It's built, it's protected, and it's led. And today's guest is someone who has spent decades doing exactly that. Greg Taylor is the co-founder and CEO of Steam Whistle Brewing, one of the pioneers of Canada's craft beer industry, and a leader who has helped build not just a successful company, but a culture people feel. Under his leadership, Steam Whistle has become one of the most recognized craft beer brands in the country and has been named one of Canada's best managed companies for 14 consecutive years. But what fascinates me most about Greg isn't just what he's built, it's how he's built it. Because in a world where so many organizations are struggling with disengagement, burnout, and what I call a growing global joy deficit, Greg has quietly been building a place where people show up, connect, and actually enjoy being there. So Greg, welcome to JOY². Super excited you're here.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate that. I don't know those things you said about me. I'm not sure if they're earned, but it's nice to hear.
I think they're 100% earned. You've got the awards to prove it. So it's awesome. I thought I'd start off by talking about joy in leadership because, the book I'm writing is about the hidden power of joy in leadership. And the podcast is about living, working, and leading with more joy. So when you hear that phrase, joy in leadership, like what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, well, it's really joy is happiness, right? And this is really, I think the main reason you get out of bed in the morning is you want to make a better life for yourself, or your family, or your partner, and those that you work with. Spend time in an ideal environment where there's positivity around you. That's that's just so important. And that, that I don't think that's changed necessarily through time in terms of what we've wanted to have in our lives and what we'd like to be part of creating. But that's it. Joy is happiness. The two go hand in hand. And I think leaders are responsible to make that happen. And if they don't, I think it takes away a business's ability to be competitive.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a leader's responsibility. I've been saying it this way, and it sounds kind of awkward, but there's so much suffering going on at work,
Yeah.
and at home and everyone in between. I really believe it's a leader's responsibility to reduce that suffering as much as possible. Like the flip side of it, the more positive is it's leader's responsibility to create a positive work environment. And you've done that. I mean, I like not only have I been there and got to know a lot of the staff from the early days, every time I've come in since, even if I don't know them, it is the same exact response. Like they're happy, they're right there, they're present, they're excited. That doesn't happen by accident. Like, how do you do that? How do you cultivate that kind of environment? Like it's you've been recognized for 14 years, one of the best managed companies. So you've got the secret sauce.
Yeah, I mean, it's about people's lives, right? Think about it. In
Yeah.
a 7-day week, we spend only 2 of those days at home with our family, not working. So 5 of those 7 days you're working most of the weeks in a year, and therefore most of the days in your life is spent in a working environment. So if we're gonna be happy, we can't just be happy on our own. We have to have
Yeah.
everyone around us to be happy. And I think really in that regard, it's responsibility, not only leadership, but the people that, are working there and have peers. We need to put more effort into making sure people enjoy what they're doing every day. And without that commitment, I mean, for Cam and I recall very clearly, we had this idea that if people simply did not dread going to work at our brewery on a Sunday night, if they felt Sunday night, you know what, I'm going to work tomorrow. It's pretty good, actually. If we could get them to feel that way about it, we could not only compete, but we probably could rise to the top. And that was the essential sauce for us. That's all we really needed to do. Everything else would fall in place if people came into work in the morning feeling respected, feeling like they had a place, that they could make a contribution. If everyone wants to win for all these, genuine reasons, it's going to make it so much easier. And I'll tell you this, forget about EBITDA. Love creates profit. I'm telling you
Yes.
right now, it does, right? It's about the love.
I've been saying, and I truly believe this, that joy is the fastest path to performance. Like if
Yes.
people are happy, right? They love coming to work. They're excited about it. They're not dreading it on a Sunday, like you said. Like I'll challenge leaders. I'll say, could you ask your team? Like, and this is a serious question. Could you go up and ask any member of your team, do you enjoy being at work? Do you look forward to coming to work? Because that's a big question, right? And if you haven't created an environment where they feel safe to answer that question, like research shows they will not give you an honest answer if they don't like coming to work because they think they're going to get fired. What if we flip the conversation around, right? What if a leader just gets curious and like, wow, what could I do or what haven't I done to create an environment where they're not excited and they don't look forward to coming? I would imagine, like, could you ask your team that question? That's a big question.
Yeah, I've really felt strongly over the years that it's important to have an environment where people could ask questions, where honestly people could complain and say, you know what, I feel a certain way about something, and you need to do a lot of work to create an environment where people feel safe to say, "Yeah, actually, the way I feel is." It sounds simple, but it is not. You need to, because people need to pay their rent and they don't want to take risks, and so you need to put a lot of effort into a culture where people feel okay with sharing information that's really vital again to the success of the business.
I love that. And also too, like, from Kim's experience, my wife's experience when she worked there, when she was an employee, when she was part of the team, I've asked her, I said, do people gossip? Like the sidebar conversations, like, oh, can you believe Greg did this or Cam did that? Or it could just be a coworker, whatever it is. And she was like, no, because they're having too much fun. There's nothing there, I mean, not that everything was perfect and everything's been perfect or whatever, but overall, it's like she loved coming to work there. It was a great place to work. People didn't spend time bickering about other coworkers or management or the leaders or the co-founders, which is special, really special.
Yeah, and I think it's also about acknowledgement. So people generally, not only at work, but within family environments, they often really don't know how people feel about them. And in particular, in the case with a boss or a manager, and I think it's the responsibility of a manager or a leader to let them know two parts of that equation: how important they are to the leader and to the business, and what opportunities they might have to improve. And this
Yeah.
is too many of us are walking around working every day going, Where do I stand with this person that is my leader? Where do I stand with my peers?" And the way to break that down is simply to, an approach I find very effective over the years is, if you're having trouble with somebody, but you think there's potential there, to say, "Hey, you're great. These are the great things you do for us. This is what's appreciated by everybody. There's also some opportunities for you to improve. If you got a second, would love to tell you about that." And when I always find that people are actually more intrigued to hear that, well, there's
Yeah.
something I could work on. There's something I could be better at. But it puts them in a much better position to know that they do matter, that their
Mhm.
skills are appreciated by others or by their leader. And so those two parts, hey, you're great at this and this, you've got a great future here. If you can work on these things, those two components are essential to having a culture where people feel respected. I I've
Mm.
always believed, when you talk about joy, Greg, if you're having a party, say you're doing pizza on a Friday afternoon to celebrate something, the people walk in that room and they've already established their feeling about the business. They have a perspective on the culture, and really it comes from their individual experience. If they walk in the room and they feel that the business has given them opportunities, the business understands them, it has communicated with them, leadership has communicated with them the opportunities for them to work on and how they could move up, etc. If they are recognized, if they are believed in, then they're going to
Yeah.
enjoy their pizza and have fun with their friends. You can't do it with parties. It's a
No,
one-on-one situation. Every single employee deserves time from those people who are responsible for their joy.
I love it. And we're not talking about forced fun and toxic positivity, right? I mean, that only makes things worse, right? Because it's fake, it's not authentic, it's not real.
Exactly. Yeah, the
Yeah.
pizza doesn't taste as good if you're bitter about who bought it for you.
Right, exactly, and I love there's, like in the research shows that, like, in order to kinda give someone constructive criticism, ideally, you wanna build them up. You wanna at least acknowledge them like you're talking about, whether it's, like, 6 times, 7 times, and the number doesn't matter, but the important thing is you're not just hammering them on what they're doing wrong. You're
Exactly.
building them up. I love that idea of building people up, calling people up versus calling them out. It's a different energy, right? When you call people out, you're putting them on the defensive right out of the gate.
Too many managers, I think, they want to leverage the opportunity to have people that are not functioning to the highest level they could. But don't tell them this, because I'm going to use this against them. Yeah, you're not good enough. Even just the feeling that your manager maybe thinks you're not good enough. Well, okay, if you're a manager and you think this person's not good enough, you owe it to them. You have a responsibility to them
Yeah.
and to the business to tell them what the issue is. Don't hide it. Don't use it as
No.
leverage. Give them, especially for young people, they haven't worked for people before. They need encouragement. They need to be trained. They need help, mentoring, and that's got to come, or else you can't get better. But if you mix in, as you suggested, you mix in some good color on how great they are, because everyone has strengths. You need to focus on those. You need to make people feel good about themselves. That's only then can you start building them up and having them be enjoy coming to work.
And I love that because it's like you hired him for a reason. There's something special about him when you hired him, right? And maybe they got there, like you said, maybe it's the training, maybe it's something the company could do. Maybe they're in the wrong position. Like maybe there's just something that you can help figure out. I mean, it's being committed to the team and committed to the culture. It's like when people quit. People don't quit companies anymore. And you know this. They quit cultures and they quit their direct manager. They quit
Yeah,
leaders, right?
exactly.
So I love the space that you create. And every time I've been there, like, I mean, I can literally, like, I can start to laugh. Like, I'll think of specific things, like even when I went in and I was pretending to be one of the three FGs, like three fired guys is the actual story. And I'm like, no, 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 it's actually three fired Gregs, and no one's buying it,
Perfect.
right? Everyone knows the history because
Oh,
it's so ingrained in everyone there. I'm like, I'm one of the three fired Gregs, Greg Como, Greg Taylor, and Greg DeCoker. Then they're just going along with it, right? I'm taking pictures from behind the bar with the Steam Whistle logo, sending it to you and Civil. It's
that's great.
amazing. But it's like they're ready to have fun.
They are. Yeah.
Yeah. So and
And
you can feel it.
it takes work. It's
Yeah.
not easy. You've got to always be thinking it, as I mentioned, each individual needs this connection. There's a lot of people in your business, hard to do, but key is having great managers who understand this concept and are willing to apply their energy to it.
And so what are some of the other things that like really kind of fuel high performing teams? I like to say high functioning, high performing, because if you're not functioning well as a team, you're not going to be performing well as a team. So what are some of those other things that kind of fuel it?
Yeah, I mean, I like to tell the story about professional sports teams. In those environments, and the Jays are a great example. And look at this team. They started, I can tell you this, Greg, a year ago, opening day,
Right.
and years prior to that, we would have people that would come down to go to the game. And, families have maybe 4 or 6 pairs of tickets sometimes. And people would come in to our tap room and say, listen, I'm going with my wife. We have these other 4 tickets for our kids. They didn't want to come. The team wasn't performing.
Right.
And they'd give them to us at the bar if someone wanted to come in and take like 3 tickets to the Jays, right? Not that it happened constantly all the time, but
Right.
that's where people's mindset was with the Jays. And, this manager has taken them from underperforming considerably at the beginning of 2025 to pretty much winning the World Series.
Yeah.
It's incredible, incredible run. What a story, right?
Incredible. Great
And
story.
that's because that guy's built he's built a great culture, and that's not easy
Mhm.
to do. It's a process. But the key thing with sports teams is there's a level of expectation of performance, especially between peers, that needs to be met, has to be met. If you're average, you don't have a job, you're not getting paid. And so sometimes, it could be looked at when you apply that theory to a business like Steam Whistle, you can argue maybe that's kind of harsh, but the reality is if you have good performers on the team, but you have some people that are anchors that are dragging behind the ship, those anchors need to be pulled up. Now, the first part of that equation,
Yeah.
you need to work with these people. You need to mentor them. You need to have them understand what they're great at and what they need to work on. But at some point, Greg, there comes a day when the organization has to lose patience for that person
Right.
because there's other high performers that feel they're being dragged down. They're feeling frustrated. And over the years, when we've made a decision to no longer employ somebody, and it's always well thought out. I can't tell you how many times people have come up to me and said, "Listen, just thanks so much because it was a struggle working with that person, and they were affecting the culture negatively, and it's just, you freed up ourselves for success." I mean, again, professional sports organization forces this. You have to meet a certain grade. But a business, especially one that's in the competitive marketplace in a difficult economy like we're in, it cannot afford to have people that are dragging behind the boat. You just can't. And
No.
when you make those tough decisions as a leadership group, it's very much appreciated by those who remain around because they're doing a great job and you're becoming competitive in your particular industry because of the work they put in.
Yeah, I love that. And there's got to be that balance too. And I'm sure this is tricky, but it sounds like you've really found it in that if you give up too soon, you fire him too soon, it sends out the wrong message to the
It does.
team. Like you don't care about the team. You don't, like maybe they just needed it. Maybe it was a course, maybe it was a conversation, maybe whatever that was. But if you wait too long, it also sends out the wrong message because like you said, it drags the team down and then they
It
get
does.
upset. So it's tricky.
Yeah. If you see that these ideas aren't being taken to heart and that there is an improvement, it's the first indication, okay, this might not end well, but we got to give it some time. We have to be reasonable about it. People do turn around, and it's in particular when they find out, okay, this is what I can't be doing. You have to give them that opportunity. But at some point, a tougher decision may have to be made, and it benefits the whole organization.
Well, I'm glad when Kim worked there that you didn't fire because we might not be having this conversation, right? We
Kim was
might not be
awesome.
part of the
I can't remember a better employee than Kim. You know what? Kim
Oh,
knows
man.
it. Hopefully,
Yeah.
she'll see this.
I
She
think
was
when,
great.
when she got pregnant, I think she kind of said, "You know what? I think I better be the one to kind of leave on my own terms versus, you guys letting her go." But she loved working there, it's definitely been,
Yeah,
one of her favorite
it's
jobs
sad
of all
over the
time.
years to see great people come and go because
Yeah.
the best employees are looking for career development, and sometimes we can't offer longer term opportunities here. But we've had some incredible people come in the front door. We opened up in 1999, and now it's 2026, a long time ago, and just seen some great people come and go. Kim's definitely one of them, but and just the culture. We've done our best to keep that culture the same, and sometimes we have reunions here at the brewery, and people come in there and I don't even realize they don't know each other because they may have worked there for 10 years, but a different 10-year period. And that's one of the things I love, Greg, is seeing people come back
Yeah.
and say, you know what? some of the best times I spent in my career were here at the Roundhouse. It's a great feeling to hear that.
Well, and I've probably kept in touch with, God, it's probably almost 10. It's probably 9 or 10, maybe even more than that, but, like, really kept in touch with some of the people that I met back then, because 'cause they're great. They're absolutely great people. I love that. What did you do, Greg, early on? Like, I mean, that's the one thing that intrigues me, like, to kinda protect that culture. Because when I remember coming in, and it's different now, and just different because you guys have grown and there's more people. I mean, I don't know the people, so it's different. It's a different feeling for me, but it's an amazing feeling. But when I'd come in, I mean, it was, not just as to see Kim, working there and to say hi to her, but just to see everyone. Like it was like, oh, it's like the open arms. So what'd you do early on to kind of protect what, because you knew it was really special. Like you guys would have island parties. The Christmas parties were off the chart. Not sure if we can talk about some of these parties on air, but no, I'm sure we can. I'm just joking. But they were just incredible fun parties. Like you guys really, it was like work hard and play hard. It was a great
Well,
atmosphere.
that
It
that
is a great
that
atmosphere.
was a big part of it, actually. So the Christmas parties, we were very proud of those parties. We've continued with them, and we invested in them considerably because, as you said, it's like the family Christmas party, right?
Yeah.
So, and we also had our 5-year trip. So early days, we decided we wanted to have people who had worked for us for 5 years. 5 years is a long commitment.
Yeah.
To work for us for that long, be able to go on a trip to Oktoberfest in Munich, um, and then go on to the Czech Republic to visit breweries throughout Europe or throughout the Czech Republic. And what a trip. I've been on it several times, and all expenses paid,
Yeah.
going with your peers. Usually there's a 10 to 14 people go together in this trip. This
Wow.
is building memories and lore for the business. I mean, these are
Yeah.
a lot of the folks that went on the trip, especially the younger people, they've never even been to Europe, and here their employers sending them. So that that itself, giving that award out at the Christmas party. So every year at the Christmas party, we get on stage, and those 5-year uh, staff members get their award, and it's announced they're going on that trip. I mean, what a feeling. People who have been there for 2 or 3 years ago, and I
Yeah.
can't wait to go on my trip. And then they
Oh my
hear of
god.
what happened on the trip. So those are some of the fundamentals for sure. And, as I mentioned, the Christmas party, the island party, which was more family oriented. People
Yeah.
bring their kids out on the island. And, we got up to certainly crazy times. Several times the police were called towards the end of the night. Even, we're just having fun. Right? No one went to jail. But yeah, and we believed in that. We had to take a little more risk with the culture, have a little more fun than the average corporation or company would do. Let your hair down a bit because we're in the fun business. We
Yeah.
see we're in the hospitality business, and we see the Roundhouse is like the Walt Disney of beer. You come down here to have fun.
I'm always intrigued, because then there's like, protecting the culture from the early days, and then there's also scaling. Like, how do you scale joy? It sounds kind of weird, but it's like I'm fascinated. Like, as you grow, how do you? Because that's what you've done. You've scaled joy. I swear you are competing with Walt Disney. That was just something you mentioned
Oh,
before.
that was, yeah.
Yeah.
We saw the Roundhouse as the Walt Disney of beer. We are
I love that.
we are a place people come for fun, right?
Yeah.
We're not building kitchen tables here. People are
Right.
coming. They've taken time off with their family to come down to the baseball game or go to the aquarium, and they come in here to have fun. In fact, a customer told me once years ago, he went
Yeah.
on a tour with a guy who's really into science, brewing science and everything. At the end, I
Right.
asked him
Oh,
what the
cool.
tour was. He says, it's okay, but kind of sciencey. I mean, hey, you got to be having fun here. You got to be entertaining me. And I thought, this guy, that is a very smart point. So we always, from there on, we really wanted to be, okay. So what I said was, Greg, that I'd gone on a trip. We went on a trip to the West Coast to visit
Yeah.
craft breweries there. And one of the things we picked up on was, I got to say, it was like a bit of arrogance at some of these craft brewers. They're so into their beer. We'd ask, what is of the a lot of them make a lot of beers out there. Of the 19 beers that you make, what's the one that's most popular? What's the best one? And they have answers like, well, actually, all our beers are the best. We're the best at any of the styles we make. Remember, just thinking, I don't believe you. You shouldn't be communicating this stuff, right? So
I want some humility and some, yeah, like give.
the guy said, he was given the choice. Said, so I'm a trained brewer.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a tour. You guys really aren't going to understand probably half of what I'm telling you.
Right.
But try to stay with me. I thought, really? This doesn't sit well. So I
Wow.
came back and I said to the crew in the retail store, when someone comes into the Roundhouse, we are fortunate they walked in the door. They've spent money to come down. They're probably on vacation or taking a day off here on the weekend with their family. We are lucky that they came in the door. So when they come up to the counter, hey, surprised you decided to spend some of your time here. Thank you. And
Yeah.
let me tell you our story. Please try our beer. We're going to take you on a tour and we're going to make it worth your while to have come and visit us. Humility goes a long way, and a lot of people miss out on that. It's important. It doesn't matter how successful the business is. People love humility. Humility has power in many ways. Applies as a leader, for staff, as you're suggesting, Greg. How do you create joy? Humility goes a long way. You can't
Yeah.
command joy. You can't tell
Yeah.
them, hey, I'm your boss. You need to be happy.
Yeah.
No, it takes connection. It takes understanding with staff and customers. In fact, Cam and I talked a lot about this, treating our staff like customers.
Yeah.
We
I
call
love
them
that.
we call them first consumers.
Yeah.
We need to ask them, do you like our beer? Because
Yeah.
they need to come home with a beer and share it with their neighbors and friends, because that's how we were growing our business in the early years.
Right.
And staff need to come home happy and proud and wanting to show people what they do. And the beer's got to taste great and all of these things. So our first customers were the people we hired on opening day. We had 16 employees here. Those for us were the most important people if we were going to grow our business, because word of mouth is everything, right? So, and then beyond that, the first consumer, the ones that come in and decide to come in, they got to leave and be impressed. They need to leave the Roundhouse and go, that is a place that I'm going to recommend people visit. Or they're not. And
Yeah.
again, you build your business because people came in, loved the time they spent there,
Mm-hmm.
purchased your products or merchandise, took it home and went, this stuff is great. The story is amazing. They appreciated me. I'm going to tell my friends to go.
It's kind of like joy on tap, and that might lead us down another path. Well, joy squared on tap, joy on tap. That I mean, literally, you guys are delivering it. It's the experience. They come in, and the beer is great. You know, I've always loved the beer, and the unfiltered, which you can only get at the Roundhouse, is a very unique taste, which I love. And I think when you leave, it's like when you're drinking that steam whistle outside of the Roundhouse at a bar, at your home, it just kind of brings you back. If you've experienced it, it does add something,
For
to
sure.
it for sure.
When
I
we
love that.
when we expanded to Alberta and BC, we learned very quickly that because people had come to Toronto on vacation and often come down to this area where the CN Tower is, Scotiabank Arena, the aquarium, all these important venues down here, the Metro Convention Center, because they had come down here, some of them had visited Steam Whistle, and then we went into bars and restaurants in Calgary, for example. People knew us. It's like, oh my God, they already know about
Yeah.
Steam Whistle. Yeah, I was there for my cousin's wedding. Yeah, it was a baseball game, had a beer. Yeah, I know all about it. Thank God. We didn't even know we were building a national brand before we
Right.
left the province, but we were. And again, if people hadn't felt positive about their experience there, and you mentioned, Greg, earlier, if people hadn't
Mhm.
noticed that the staff seemed to be happy,
Yeah.
that helps the memory. That helps with positivity. The whole idea of joy is that it's just infectious, right? Even with our vintage vehicles, which you'll see driving around Toronto, and
Yeah.
we have had them at different times in other provinces in Canada. Those create joy themselves. So the story I tell about one of our earliest vintage vehicles, which was a 1949 International pickup truck, it was driving up Church Street past the beer store on the west side of Church Street, and a guy saw the thing, thought this was just awesome, went into the beer store, bought a 12 pack, and then called us and said, I just want you to know, you made my day because you have that beautiful truck. The guy who's driving it waved at me, and I'm just so happy to be a part of your brand. I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to be a customer from now on. So it is
Amazing.
pretty simple to do these things. I mean, we dig so deep sometimes on marketing and trying to create culture and everything, when the reality is, how about you just tell someone you appreciate them?
Yeah. I
That's a
love it.
huge start, whether they're a customer or somebody working for you.
Even it reminded me of the way you treat your employees. It's like, there's that golden rule, which we've all heard: treat other people the way that you want to be treated, because most people want to be treated well. So, that there's nothing wrong with that. And the platinum rule is just one step above that. Treat others the way they want to be treated.
Exactly.
Because that's a conversation, that's a relationship, that's getting to know them so that you can treat them the way that they want to be treated. Like first consumers, like you said, that's brilliant. I hadn't heard that before.
They are the first consumers, just no question.
Yeah.
In any product. I mean, if you've got people working for you that don't like going into work in the morning, they're not saying good things about you.
No.
And right. So you got to fix that. That's a reason that people often don't think about, holy smokes, like, maybe they're causing problems at work, but if they're not helping tell a good story about our brand, that can't get us where we need to go.
Yeah, and if you take really good care of your employees, they're going to take really good care of your company and your customers. It sounds so simple, and it's true. And it's like even Simon Sinek says it this way: customers will never love your company until your employees love it first.
Yep.
Right? Because if they may like it, they may still like the beer, right? I mean, for sure. But as far as the experience, when you go into the roundhouse, yeah, I mean, it's hard what's not to love about the place, the beer, the experience, the tours, everything.
I have to say, Greg, it does make it easy when you're in the beer business. Our location, which we're fortunate to have, is put us in a great
Yeah.
position to have people come in just to go to a baseball game. They come in here for the tailgate parties, which have blown up for us in the last year. It's amazing coming to a burger and a beer and
Yeah.
enjoy the brewery and the view from the park before you go to the game. That has been fortunate for us for sure. For us, it's brought opportunities, but it doesn't matter what business you're in. This
Yeah.
concept of joy for customers and your staff, and really they're one and the same. It's just essential, and until people recognize that, and some people don't really know how to get there, but it it is innate in us. We maybe just have forgotten about it.
I love it. I know we talked a lot about like, how do you cultivate joy, in the organization at Steam Whistle. And then on the flip side of it, like what tends to block joy? Like where does joy get squeezed out sometimes?
I mean, I think hierarchy is a big
Yeah.
problem.
Okay.
And there's a couple of ways to approach that one. One of the things I like to say is that I'm one of the reasons that I'm running Steam Whistle is because of my age. I got here way before you guys. I said this to my staff recently. I got here way before you guys did. Remember this, as a
Yeah.
boss or
Yeah.
thinking about your boss, the reason you are a manager
Mhm.
is typically because you got there before the people you're managing.
Right.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Did those jobs first and
It's
you did
timing.
well and you progressed.
Yeah.
Don't forget people, these managers, don't get a little too overconfident. There may be people you've hired that are exceptional. Give them the space to grow. These are the mistakes a lot of managers make. They're
Yeah.
worried about hiring good people because they're worried about themselves and their own jobs.
Right.
Most successful leaders and most successful managers are those who actually recognize, hey, the way I'm going to rise in my own career is by hiring exceptional people. And that people need to be comfortable with it. It's hard to do when you're a young manager, be comfortable with hiring people that might even be better than you. But if you do that, you're going to be successful. And of course, giving them the autonomy. And you talk about, creating joy or not,
Yep.
providing people with autonomy to apply their skill sets, to give their opinion, to work hard for results that they're recognized for. This
Mhm.
is important stuff. This is the difference between having joy at work and not, working people that might be working against their organization because they don't feel they're being given those opportunities. And those who come to work with a smile on their face. I just had lunch downstairs here at the Roundhouse in Steam Whistle Kitchen. And the staff, gentleman I was having lunch with, he just commented like, some of the staff here are dancing while they're working. What's going on?
Literally. Yeah. When I was there,
They're
when
having
we had
fun.
lunch.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly. They are having fun. And I couldn't be prouder of that. I mean, again, you can't take beer too seriously. But again,
Yeah.
generally, this can apply for any organization.
I love that. I remember when we had lunch a few weeks back, and you sent me a text and you said, I'll be there in about 15 minutes. I was already there early or whatever, of course. And then I was thinking like, well, the time it gets from your office, to the restaurant, to the kitchen, is probably, it's only a couple of minutes. So I was like 15 minutes, so I'm thinking maybe you had something, you had to take care of whatever. Right. But and then I realized it's because you have to say, you're talking to every single person along the way. You're because you're not, just ignoring people. It's like you're connecting. I mean, you're spending time, you're appreciating, you're checking in, whatever those, those things that you do on a daily and a regular basis that people appreciate. I see the way people respond to you too. That's not fabricated. That's not them trying to suck up to the boss. That's them appreciating you and enjoying you and being grateful that they get to work where they do. Yeah.
It's about one-on-one connection and the idea that
Yeah.
a leader doesn't have the time to connect with somebody. In my office, I got I have one chair there, not two. Because I like people to come in on their own and catch up with me, and so guys running the production line, I love having them come in because they will tell me exactly what's
Mhm.
not working downstairs and
Yeah.
what is. And
Yeah.
I know over the years when I've had brought people into the business, maybe senior managers that work for larger companies, have come to me and said, "Greg, I saw you talking to one of my staff in your office. Like, is there a problem? Am I in trouble?" And I said, "No, no, just want to talk to your staff." Is it okay for me to talk to your staff? Well, I've never really had my boss talk to my staff directly. So, well, get used to it because I'm going to keep doing
Yeah.
that. It's important to me. It's important to them. They can sit in my office and feel comfortable and tell me what's going on and what they appreciate, what they don't. I need to know what the hell's going on here if I'm going to run the business.
And that's called breaking down hierarchy too, right? I mean, that's like taking, removing those layers or those levels or those perceptions that, they don't have access, to you because you're the co-founder and CEO, right? So I love that. I mean, just making it easy for people to connect with you.
Yeah, I had a guy come in early days when we started the new production line in the west end of Toronto, and I wanted to talk to everybody, see how it's going. So called him in my office, and he was really quite nervous. And I said, "Brian, like just to let you know, you're one of the best guys we have here. I know I've been told this. I hear these stories about people, so I can pass
Mhm.
on the truth. It's not my opinion; it's what I hear."
Right.
And he said, "No, thanks for that, but I just never talked to the CEO of a business before I ever worked for, and I've been, and and he's in the later part of his career, and for him, this was a new experience, and it shouldn't be. He should have had that opportunity earlier on. Like again, talking about hierarchy, this idea that you know the the leader is responsible for the success of the business. They aren't. They are part of the success of the business, and
Right.
they need to fit into it. And people who like Brian, who's responsible for the comings and goings on the loading dock, all our inventory, the status of our inventory, which is so essential. This guy needs to be recognized for the great work he does. He works really hard. Sometimes he comes in at 2 in the morning. If we've got an order coming in from out west or something, the guy will do anything for the business. We need to
Wow.
recognize this guy. Talk about joy. He's the man. And doesn't take long. I'll just, take a minute. I remember I had a guy I worked with years ago who, but we're talking about this idea that you could, as a leader, you could make a difference by connecting with individuals. And, he was guy, my company's pretty big, hundreds of people. I don't know if there's really time for that. I said, there's always, how much time does it take though? So we were arguing a bit about this. And then his young son came in the room, talked to his dad for a bit, and then I was at his house. And the son was leaving, and he said, "Hey, buddy." And the kid turned around. He said, "Love you." Right. And he left. And I said, "How long did that take?" Do you know what
Yeah.
that just meant to that kid? For me, the whole thing is about love. Like, we want to be loved at home and at
Yeah.
work. So when we're at work, we're responsible for that, just as we are with our families, especially the leaders. Just give people some love, and you will get more out of them.
Well, it's funny. I remember a client told me, he said, Greg, I read an email you just sent me, and you used the word love like 6 times. Don't you think that's a little bit much? And I go, nope, I do not. But the question is, do you think it's a little bit too much? And how does that reflect in your leadership style? I didn't say the last part of that question in that moment, but we did have that chat. But I think like love and joy, those are typically, we're talking about feelings. I mean, the back in the day, it was like park your feelings at the door, come in and get some work done, right? Like where does that show up?
Yeah, Greg, I will say this concept of love and joy, these softer things that may feel unprofessional,
Yeah,
it's not true.
yeah,
You can really use it as an effective tool because having people happy is so important. But the other opportunity it brings you is an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? You might not be able to stay on the team here. People love working here, right? But there's an expectation. They know that too. They know these guys provide a great culture. It's a great job, well paid. There's opportunities to promote from within, which we love to do. But it's not all fun and games. I got to deliver. Some people
Yeah.
struggle with that. They come in and, I'll talk to them, say, listen, we need you to work on this or that. And I can tell they're kind of surprised. Really, Greg? Like, hey, you're so much fun. Yeah, I'm fun, but you got to do your job because we're paying you, right?
Yeah.
There's work not getting done. You
Yeah.
need to complete the work
Yep.
or you can't stay. So it's a message I like to tell people for really struggling with them. If this doesn't get fixed, if we're not seeing improvement, you can't stay here in
Yeah.
this great culture. And I think staying and being a part of something is important to people, especially if you're enjoying themselves. So I guess what I'm saying, Greg, is, if some people feel uncomfortable with the idea of talking about joy and love at work and these concepts,
Right.
when they are matched with an expectation and an understanding that if you come and enjoy these great things, this great existence, this joy you receive at work, you have to also contribute. And if you don't,
Yeah.
the company has a limit in its patience.
Mm. It's possible to do great work and have a lot of fun doing it, which is the environment that you create. You've got a responsibility, you've got to deliver, right? You're running a business,
Yep.
you've got a board of directors and the
Yep.
whole bit. And I remember speaking of the kind of the word itself, like joy, I presented leading from joy to a panel of senior level mining executives, probably about 40, and very engaged in the topic. And one guy said, Greg, I love the idea, love you, love the energy and the passion, totally agree. But how am I supposed to talk to my guys on the front line, the miners, about joy? And I was like, wow, that's a great question, right? And I said, well, maybe you don't, maybe it's not about the word. But I said, there's lots of different ways to break it down. But let me start with this. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you truly care about your team, your guys on the front line, the miners? And and then he's like, yeah, for sure. I'm at easily an 8, if not higher. And then the second question is, well, do they know that? Do they know that you truly care about them? Right? Because that's the second thing. And that kind of takes us back to that question. Like, he might not have been at a stage where he can go and ask his frontline guys, like, do you enjoy coming to work? Do you enjoy being at work? How do you are you having fun? Is it, and I know with mining it's different because there's a safety aspect too, but it is still possible to have fun and be safe. And they actually says it creates a safer workplace, not just emotionally, but physically. They've done studies on that. So I think we've got a long ways to go. And Greg, I think we've got the equation backwards. I think for so many years, for so many decades, it's like, okay, let's meet the milestones, let's hit the metrics, let's get the results done, and then we'll celebrate, then we'll have joy, right? How about we lead with joy intentionally? How about we weave it in, right, from the beginning? So like you're doing.
One of the ways I protected myself in terms of how, our managers exercising this idea, Greg, is to just grab people and say to them, I've seen them in the hallway, a new brewer has come in, a new
Right.
driver. If I've heard good things, I just tell them.
Yeah.
They don't have to even sit in my office. I say, listen,
Yeah.
I have a collective experience here or collective knowledge about how you're doing. I can't have a personal opinion because I don't work with you, but I can
Right.
tell you a lot of people have said great things about what you're doing, and we're really glad to have you here. So thanks for coming.
Wow.
And how long does that take?
Right. Yeah.
Powerful
Less than
stuff,
a
right?
minute.
Because
Less than a minute.
then even if the manager that we have there isn't doing a great job of that,
Yeah.
if he's hearing it from someone more senior, he's thinking this guy actually thinks I'm good.
Yeah.
Remember this. A lot of people don't hear this anywhere in their lives at home, in their personal lives at work. They've never heard this stuff before. So if you can deliver information like that, which really shows people you believe in them, goes a long way.
I agree. I totally agree. One thing I thought of was, in your decades at Steam Whistle, can you share a moment where you just experienced just full body joy? It was one of those moments that stick out as a highlight in your life, a highlight in your career. Does something come to mind?
Oh yeah. So the first our 10-year anniversary, Cam and I are up here in the office at the Roundhouse. Our deceptionist had us working on that project. Nancy was just such an important part of our culture. She answered our phones. She was part of the tour. And instead of calling herself the receptionist, she called herself the deceptionist. Oh, what a character she was. So she had us busy in the office at the end of the day doing something. And then And then she said, I want to come down and have a beer with you guys. Nancy actually didn't drink, but she wanted to come down to the bar and have a drink with us. So, and it was like, I don't know, a Tuesday or whatever. Came downstairs, all the staff were down there. They had organized this huge party with like food and drinks. And I mean, it was just the best party ever. And 10 years in, it had been a hard road. The first 5 years, we weren't making money and we were in financial trouble. The next 5 years, we found we got our heads above water and found some real success and started growing the business. In the last, 7 to 10 years, we really started to grow double digit for a few years, which was a great feeling. So you finally feel like, Sybil and I put our house on the line for the loan to start the business, and you just sort of feel out of the weeds on that one. And to have everyone there celebrating with us, and I can't remember if I'm sure Kim was there, but you guys were there, but it was the best party ever.
Oh,
Wow, it stopped till 4 a.m. And that's what we'd like to do is celebrate, like, work hard, play hard. And that was a fantastic moment for Cam and I. They had these shirts made up for us. They had a picture. It was an old picture of me back in the day and this old Monte Carlo with actually a buddy of mine. And they put Cam's head on the picture, and it was like celebrating 10 years of Steam Whistle. So that was a great moment because it all comes together with a group that have really built the success, and it's all built in increments, right? There's a team that has brought it all together. Best ever moment for sure.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And there, another one that just, I don't know if this is so much like a full body joy, but for me, it was when you shared it with me. And if you're open to sharing it now, and we were talking about kind of, your success as the CEO and the leader, and you kind of immediately, deflected to the team. It's not just about you, obviously, it's about the team that's been building it. And you were talking about a board of directors meeting, and that you were going, you're like, you know what, why don't you bring in your president, Bromlin, and have her kind of, present and have her kind of receive some of the accolades. So is that something like, are you open to sharing that? Is that?
No, I mean, that's just so important, right? Like,
Yeah.
a lot of senior leaders want to feel like they are essential to the business. Well, first of all, they aren't. But what will make them essential is if, in this case, the board of directors or sometimes customers get to meet these people that are doing a lot of the hard work, right?
Yeah.
Whether they're senior managers or guys running the line. I love to bring these people into a board meeting and have them spend 10 minutes explaining to the board members what they do. And at the end of that, inevitably what happens is the board goes, wow, Greg, you have a great team. You've built a great team here. Yeah. And that's the most important part about leadership. It's not what you're actually doing every day. What did you accomplish in the last 4 hours? It's, do you have a team that gets it, that understands, that wants to win, that appreciates putting in the effort and makes you competitive in the industry? And at the end of the day, all that leads to EBITDA. I don't like to talk about EBITDA much, but I'm telling you, that's how you create it.
Oh, I love it.
We also have profit sharing here, which is helpful, right? Like, we'll see that, okay, this corporation is actually here for me, because if we make money, I get paid some of it. And last year, it was a substantial amount of money. People really, really appreciate that. So yeah, it's, and I have, there's lots of stories like that where people just, recognizing folks makes them feel good and makes other people realize, how complex the organization is and how well it's led. And it's that, again, back to recognition brings people joy.
Yeah, no, it sure does. And I thought, how great is that? I mean, you could have gone in and just, and had the conversation in the meeting like you've done countless times before, but you wanted to bring her in and really have them get to know her and have her be recognized for all the work that she's doing. And you're so great at giving people credit. Like you never take credit for anything that's not your own idea. Right. So,
well, yeah, because no one really wants to hear you take. Who wants to hear you take credit? No one wants to hear
exactly.
That. Tell people what they want to hear, which is the first thing they want to hear is they're great, and they had a part in that, right? Even customers tell me, like, customer come up to me and says, "You know what? I love your beer. I drink it all the time. Give me some T-shirts, and I'll wear them around and sell even more of your beer because I sell a lot of your beer." People love this idea of being recognized, and but they don't want to hear from you. Well, the reason that you're drinking my beer because of me. No, that is the biggest turnoff. Why is Donald Trump so unpopular? For that reason. Putting his face on money. Like, what are you doing, dude? You do not know how to, it's all about hearts and minds, Greg. right?
Yeah.
How do you
I
create
love it.
an environment where people want to love you, want to love the business, want to love the culture, they want to feel joy about the whole thing? How do you do that? Humility.
I love that. And speaking of humility, I mean, this is a question I know that people are probably thinking, who are listening to it. And I'm just going to ask you, like, do you have pec implants? This is one of the biggest questions that people want to know, because it's been an ongoing topic for decades. So let's just cut to the chase and and be humble
Back
and
to
be
the pec implant. So all I'll say about that is the only reason I'm still alive is because I continued to exercise and try and stay healthy. And yeah, so but it is as you know well, it can be very stressful sometimes, and this is another leads into another point, how health the human resources department can be so important, and in our case Lorna Wilner is exceptional at leading that job, and she really cares about people. I think sometimes human resources is part of the organization that protects the company from the people. It's got to
right,
be the other way around, right?
right. Almost
um,
like a union, right? In some ways, they almost act as a union, right?
yeah, you want her to be representing people. And when I say that, the most important thing again is this individual connection. People
Yeah,
feel very comfortable coming into Lorna's office and sitting down and telling them what they're concerned about, what they're frustrated with, asking about opportunities, about pay, all these things that a lot of companies, people are not comfortable asking. HR
yeah,
can play a big role there, including health, right? Help them get through these challenges. A lot of people come in, sit down in Lauren's office and talk about their own personal life at home and the challenges they're having there and asking for advice. I mean, if the company can give you personal advice to help your life outside work, how great is that?
oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. I
I'm not
love it.
saying we do that with everywhere, with everyone, but that's
Yeah.
the goal, especially when it comes to human resources.
No, it's definitely, it's very important. It comes back to how you treat people, right? And I love. Hey,
For sure.
as we're winding down the conversation, let me ask you, like, what do you want people to kind of take away from our conversation today? What do you want them to feel? What do you want them to take away?
Yeah, I mean, Steam Whistle is a genuine place where people like to come to work. We do our
Yeah.
best to make the best pilsner in Canada. We're focused on customer experience. When you come down to the Roundhouse, there's a great family of folks here. They're going to celebrate you in a genuine way. Like we want people's hamburgers to taste great. We want the beer to taste great. We want the washrooms to be clean. This is really, we take this to heart personally, and we want you to experience joy down here because it extends our brand, and storytelling is such an important part of any business. Whether I'm telling you the story as a team whistle or a customer who's just on the way to the Jays game tonight here came in and visited the place and it's going to tell stories about their visit here. So we really are. I'd like to say that we're authentic. We care about each other and about our customers, and that's I think well represented by the beer, which we've focused on brewing one beer for 26 years, and that's one of the reasons that we've been able to break through and remain competitive. Is when you do one thing and one thing really really well, it gives you great results. Our quality control is excellent because we don't have to worry about anything else. So yeah, I mean that those are the things I think are more important to understand about steam whistle. And it's an all natural beer and it's a European style recipe. It's got great flavor and all these things. Most important thing is come down to Roundhouse, check out yourself. Ask for me. I'm here all the time. I'd love to say hello.
Ask for me too. If Greg's not there, ask because there's a good chance I'm going to be there.
He's eating up in lunch there for sure.
That's right. Oh, that's awesome. Well, Greg, thank you so much for your time and energy today, and for this conversation. For sharing your wisdom, your leadership, insights, energy, humanity, and your humor. Steam Whistle has been part of our family for a very long time, right? It's been really fun to explore your leadership philosophy behind the culture that so many people get to experience when they walk into the Roundhouse. And I've got to say, like, this conversation feels a little bit like stepping back into the Roundhouse again, right? There's that feeling there. And it's hard to describe unless you've experienced it. But I think what we got to today is that feeling isn't accidental. It's intentional, it's protected, and it's led, right? And you've built something where people don't just show up to work, right? They show up as themselves. And
Yes,
where culture isn't a poster on the wall, it's
that's it.
something that you can feel the moment you walk through the door. And I think in a world where so many leaders are trying to squeeze performance out of people, you've shown that when you create the right environment, performance shows up on its own. So the joy, the connection, the pride, the belonging, those aren't soft ideas, as you said. They're the foundation. And maybe that's the real takeaway from today, is that joy isn't the reward at the end of the journey. It's what makes the journey worth showing up for in the first
Totally.
place.
Every day is a new day. Let's
Every
all
day
get
is a
along,
new day.
folks, and be happy. That's the only reason. I'm not in this business to make money. I want to make friends and enjoy my day. Tomorrow, I got to come to work again. Let's have fun.
And when leaders get that right, I love that. Everything changes, and it changes for the better. So, thanks for building what you've built, and for leading by example, and for sharing how you've done it today. This has been awesome.
Well, Greg, I love your podcast. The whole concept of Joy podcast is so great, and keep digging away, because there's lots more stories out there that people have recognized how important that is. I would say there's no question joy is the most important thing in any organization. It doesn't even have to be a business. Any organization, association, people need to feel happy about getting involved, and they need to feel that they've accomplished something and walk away going, wasn't that great?
Yeah, I agree. I love that. And so for everyone listening, thanks for being part of this conversation. And if something we talked about today resonated with you, then don't just let it sit as an idea. Take a moment and ask yourself, where could I bring a little more joy into how I lead, how I show up, and how I connect with the people around me? Because it doesn't require a massive change. I think we always think that it's about adding more to leaders' plates. It's really about shifting the way that people lead, right? Sometimes it's a conversation, sometimes it's being more present, sometimes it's simply choosing a different energy when you walk into a room, right? Joy doesn't happen by accident. It's created intentionally, and the ripple effect is way bigger than we think. So we'll see you next time on JOY², Live with Joy. Cheers.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks for spending this time with us on JOY², where joy multiplies and everything gets better. Remember, joy isn't just something you feel. It's something you create, and it's something you pass on. If this conversation sparks something in you, share it, because joy is contagious. What we're building here is bigger than a podcast. It's a reminder and a movement that how we live, work, and lead truly matters. Until next time, live with joy, lead with purpose, and never forget to have fun. Keep choosing joy, squared. And if you're enjoying the journey, we'd be grateful if you subscribe, like, and share JOY² so the ripple keeps spreading.